If you knew a meal was going to be your last, what would you choose? It's a difficult question that some people really have had to face after being sentenced to death. In this video, we will take a look at some of the strangest death row meal requests, so make sure you stick around until the end. Let's get started. Ronnie Lee Gardner. Convicted murderer Ronnie Lee Gardner's last meal wasn't too unusual. He requested steak, lobster tail, apple pie, and vanilla ice cream. However, he made a more unconventional request: to watch the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. Surprisingly, the request was granted. Had the Hobbit films been released, Gardner might have added a few more hours to his final moments. Ted Bundy. Notorious serial killer Ted Bundy, known for his heinous crimes, refused to request a special last meal. Instead, he was served the default prison meal: medium rare steak, eggs, hash browns, toast, milk, and juice. He didn't touch any of it, perhaps too preoccupied with his looming execution to have an appetite. David Leon Woods. David Leon Woods spent 22 years on death row before his execution in 2007. For his last meal, Woods opted for pizza and a whole birthday cake, which he shared with his family. It's unclear if he was celebrating an early birthday, as his actual date was still months away. Alan Lee Davis. Weighing over 350 pounds, Alan Lee Davis, convicted for a brutal murder, went big for his final meal. He ordered lobster tail, fried shrimp, clams, garlic bread, and a 32-ounce root beer. Due to his size, his execution in the electric chair was botched, leading Florida to discontinue this method of execution. Victor Harry Fager. Victor Harry Fager made one of the most unique last meal requests: a single olive with the pit still inside. After his execution, the pit was found in his pocket, suggesting he hoped it would be buried with him to grow into a tree, symbolizing peace. Thomas J. Grasso. In 1995, convicted murderer Thomas J. Grasso made quite an extravagant last meal request. His order included barbecued spare ribs, 24 steamed clams, a double cheeseburger from Burger King, 2 strawberry milkshakes, and half a pumpkin pie topped with diced strawberries and whipped cream. However, Grasso had one specific request that was dear to him: a can of SpaghettiOs. Unfortunately, the prison staff served him regular spaghetti and meatballs instead. Disappointed, Grasso's final words before his execution were a complaint about this mix-up, emphasizing that he never received his beloved SpaghettiOs. John Wayne Gacy. One of the most infamous serial killers in American history, John Wayne Gacy had a final meal that mirrored his larger-than-life personality. His request? A dozen fried shrimp, a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken, French fries, and a pound of strawberries. Gacy had once managed 3 KFC restaurants, so it seems his last supper was a nostalgic nod to his past, served with an unhealthy portion of fried everything. Oba Chandler. Oba Chandler, convicted of the brutal murders of a mother and her 2 daughters, had a more simple but odd final meal request. He asked for 2 salami sandwiches on white bread with mustard, as well as a peanut butter and grape jelly sandwich, also on white bread. He accompanied this meal with iced tea and coffee. His combination may seem strange, but it was clearly what he wanted before his execution in Florida. Carla Faye Tucker. Carla Faye Tucker, convicted of a grisly double murder using a pickaxe, was executed by lethal injection in 1998 after spending 14 years on death row. Her final meal was surprisingly modest and healthy: a banana, a peach, and a salad with ranch or Italian dressing. Known for turning to religion and spirituality during her time in prison, Tucker's meal choices reflected a focus on health and simplicity, a stark contrast to her violent past. Troy Davis. Troy Davis's execution in 2011 remains controversial, with many still questioning his guilt in the murder of a police officer. Davis declined to have a last meal, saying it wouldn't be his final one, implying he believed justice would eventually exonerate him. Though his case is still debated, Davis was executed by lethal injection in Georgia. John Spenkelink. John Spenkelink, executed in 1979 for murder, chose not to indulge in food before his death. Instead, he requested a single flask of Jack Daniel's whiskey. Spanklink, known for his love of alcohol, even invited the prison superintendent to join him in sharing one last drink before facing his execution in Florida. Philip Workman. Philip Workman asked that a large vegetarian pizza be given to a homeless person instead of him having a last meal. Though the prison denied his request, many people in Tennessee honored it by delivering pizzas to the homeless, a small act of kindness from a condemned man. Gary Gilmore. Gary Gilmore's case made headlines after he was convicted of killing 2 people during a botched gas station robbery in 1976. His last meal reflected his intense personality: a hamburger, hard-boiled eggs, a baked potato, several cups of coffee, and, illegally, 3 shots of Jack Daniel's whiskey. Gilmore made sure to go out with a bang, even in his final moments. Dobie Gillis Williams. Sometimes simplicity is key. Dobie Gillis Williams, a Louisiana man convicted of murder, asked for nothing more than a bag of Lay's potato chips. He finished the entire bag and made no further requests. Perhaps it was a craving for a salty treat, or maybe he just didn't want to complicate things. Peter J. Menial. Peter J. Menial requested one of the planet's most enormous death row dinners in history. The 42-year-old asked for 20 beef tacos and beef enchiladas, 2 double cheeseburgers, a jalapeno pizza, and fried chicken. However, it doesn't stop there. The inmate also requested spaghetti, fruit cake, half a chocolate cake and half of a vanilla cake, cookies and cream and caramel pecan fudge ice cream, 2 Cokes, 2 Pepsis, 2 root beers, and 2 glasses of orange juice. Timothy McVeigh. The Oklahoma City bomber, Timothy McVeigh, made a surprisingly childlike request for his last meal: 2 pints of mint chocolate chip ice cream. No meal, no complex flavors, just a simple dessert. It's almost unsettling in its innocence. Angel Nieves Diaz. Angel Nieves Diaz was sentenced to death for the 1979 murder of a club owner, though his execution didn't happen until 2006. He declined to make a last meal request and was served the prison's standard Wednesday meal, which included shredded turkey, pinto beans, and apple crisps. In protest of the death penalty, Diaz refused to eat. He saw his execution as a display of vengeance, a viewpoint still debated today in discussions on capital punishment. Gerald Lee Mitchell. In 2011, Georgia resident Gerald Lee Mitchell didn't ask for a complete supper like others. Instead, he requested an assortment bag of Jolly Rancher sweets. Bruno Richard Hauptmann. In 1936, Bruno Richard Hauptmann was executed for kidnapping and killing the infant son of Charles Lindbergh. His last meal was unusual by today's standards, including celery, olives, salmon salad, corn fritters, sliced cheese, fruit salad, cake, coffee, and milk. While this combination may seem strange now, it was his final choice before being executed. Velma Barfield. Cheesy Granny. Known as the Death Row Granny, Velma Barfield chose a bag of cheese dibbles and a can of Coca-Cola. Who knew that cheesy snacks and fizzy drinks could be so comforting in your final moments? James Edward Smith. James Edward Smith, convicted in Texas, requested a clump of dirt. Unfortunately, dirt wasn't on the menu, so he settled for yogurt instead. Lawrence Russell Brewer. Texas inmate Lawrence Russell Brewer ordered an enormous final meal but refused to eat it, prompting Texas to end special last meals for death row inmates. His dramatic act changed state policy forever. Gary Carl Simmons, Jr. A grocery store butcher and a drug addict, Gary Carl Simmons, Jr. was convicted of the 1996 murder and dismemberment of Jeffrey Wolf and the rape of Wolf's girlfriend, who had come to his home to collect nearly a $20,000 drug debt. For his last meal, Simmons requested a 29,000-calorie feast consisting of pizza, Doritos, McDonald's fries, strawberry shakes, and ice cream, but he didn't finish the button-bursting meal. Stacy Lawton. Stacy Lawton, a Texas inmate executed in 2000, requested a cheeseburger and fries for his last meal, topped with an entire jar of dill pickles. Convicted for murder, His unusual meal choice remains memorable among last meal requests. Peter Kürten. German serial killer and rapist Peter Kürten became known by the scary nickname of the Vampire of Dusseldorf due to the nature of his crimes. He was sentenced to death in April 1931 and requested Wiener Schnitzel, fried potatoes, and a bottle of white wine. He subsequently asked for seconds, which were given to him. Thanks for joining us as we explored the 25 strangest last meal requests on death row. What do you think about these bizarre choices? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating videos.